From the farthest reaches of the Earth emerge eerie beings, but nowhere are they quite as unique as in Antarctica. Picture a mollusk as tall as a skyscraper, ice fish with transparent blood, and even a genuine Yeti. These chilly realms host some of the most fascinating inhabitants, well worth a deeper exploration. Join me in this video as we delve into the most unnerving creatures Antarctica has to offer. Prepare for a captivating journey full of intriguing sights. Sea spiders. Bad news for people who are very much afraid of spiders. These arthropods live not only on land, but also in water. They can be seen in all seas and oceans, including the waters of Antarctica. Scientists believe that sea spiders are resistant creatures in general, but Antarctic spiders, in their opinion, are particularly resistant. No wonder, because these arthropods had to adapt to the most severe environmental conditions on the planet for hundreds of millions of years. Sea spiders have adapted to the waters of Antarctica and now thrive there. Surprisingly, these creatures were not only able to adapt to the harsh conditions, but also survive a number of extinctions, including the Great Dying when almost all life on Earth died out. Their unpleasant appearance, insane strength, and endurance make sea spiders very creepy and frightening creatures that you don't want to meet face to face. Amphipods. Antarctica is interesting because in its waters, you can find both millimeter-long shrimps and shrimps that are several tens of centimeters long. Surprisingly, both belong to the same order. In fact, amphipods are not really shrimps. They have a similar appearance but are two different animals. However, this isn't so important. What is important is the fact that amphipods look quite creepy, especially if we're talking about amphipods that are 30 centimeters long. Such shrimps can be seen at a depth of several kilometers. According to science, such huge arthropods are an example of deep-sea gigantism, but that's not all. Many Antarctic creatures, though they look creepy, are generally harmless. However, amphipods are not among them. When they rise to the surface, they can bite a swimmer in the water and give them unpleasant wounds. Of course, they're unlikely to bite someone in Antarctica, as only if you dare to swim in the icy waters of the continent. But keep in mind that amphipods inhabit not only there, but also to the north, in the warmer waters of the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. White-blooded fish. While exploring Antarctic waters, you may well stumble upon some creepy fish like these white-blooded fish. Also known as ice fish, they inhabit the cold waters of Antarctica and the sub-Antarctic, where they live in extremely cold conditions on the verge of freezing water. These creatures look quite frightening if you take a white-blooded fish and look through it at a light source. You can see the outline of its bones and internal organs. Its blood is colorless, just like its meat, which is why it got its name. An interesting fact: of all the species of fish, white-blooded fish is one of the most useful from a culinary point of view. It contains very little fat, just over 2%, but a lot of protein, over 17 grams, which is more than most other fish products. Yeti crabs. Many people around the world are still wondering if Yeti really exists. As it turns out, Yeti is quite real. However, so far, I'm only talking about crabs, strange, and a bit creepy Yeti crabs. These crabs were spotted by scientists a few years ago in the Scotia Sea at a depth of more than 2,600 meters. The temperature in the sea varies from 0.6 to -1 degree Celsius at the surface, and in the thermal springs area, the water can get up to 400 degrees. Furry Yeti crabs have to keep the golden mean, not moving far away from the springs to avoid freezing and not approaching them to avoid burning. These Antarctic crustaceans try to huddle together to not freeze. In an area of 1 square meter, scientists counted 700 individuals. Yeti crabs, which were given the scientific name Kiwa hirsuta, have several interesting features. First, these furry inhabitants of cold seas can climb the vertical walls of thermal springs. Second, pregnant female Yeti crabs leave the relatively warm area of the colony and move to the low-temperature zone. Scientists say that larval development requires colder conditions, and note that females give birth only once in a lifetime. Third, these crabs are their own restaurants. These amazing animals grow food on their own bodies, collecting bacteria on their villi, which they later eat. Sea pigs. Everyone's heard of guinea pigs, but have you heard of sea pigs? This is the name of scotoplanes, which live in the Antarctic. Sea pigs are very strange and somewhat frightening deep-sea creatures that can be seen at a depth of 1 kilometer and below. They belong to the class of sea cucumbers. Scotoplanes have extremely enlarged tubular legs that look like feet. It's believed that this is the only example of sea cucumbers moving with the help of legs in which cavities with water under the skin are used. By the way, sea pigs originated precisely because of such legs in combination with the typical rounded shape of scotoplanes. Moving around, sea pigs pick up small organisms from the bottom and stuff them into their mouths, which are equipped with 12 tentacles. Antarctic squid. As you can see, Antarctica is home to many frightening creatures. However, many people agree that the creepiest of all is the Antarctic squid. One look at this creature is enough to understand that this is a real sea monster. Not only does the squid look creepy by itself, but it's also insanely huge. These creatures reach lengths of 10 to 14 meters and weigh about half a ton. The drawings that show a human silhouette next to this squid give me the chills. It's hard to imagine that squids can grow this huge. What makes these squids even more frightening is their mystique and inaccessibility. They live at great depths of 200 to 2,000 meters. That's both a good and a bad thing. On one hand, a meeting with this monster is extremely unlikely, so you don't have to worry about your psyche. But on the other hand, it's very difficult to conduct research at such depths, so scientists haven't been able to properly study these Antarctic monsters. Here's an interesting fact. Many experts believe that the Antarctic giant squid served as the prototype for the CRAIN, the legendary sea monster of enormous size that attacked ships and sailors. Speaking of legends being a mysterious continent, Antarctica boasts a variety of legends that are worth exploring. Stay tuned, and in the second part of this video, I'll share with you a few legends about Antarctica that will pique your interest. Plane crash. Not many people know that there have been major plane crashes in Antarctica. Perhaps the largest and most famous of them all is the DC-10 crash, also known as the Mount Erebus disaster. The plane took off from Auckland, New Zealand, and was flying through Antarctica. However, 5.5 hours after takeoff, it crashed into the slope of Mount Erebus and disintegrated. Unfortunately, no one survived. Although the crash happened back in 1979, its echoes can still be heard today, quite literally. Many people are convinced that they can hear strange sounds, see unexplained footprints, and feel someone's presence in the crash area. Plasmosaurs. Legends claim that not only giant squids, strange fish, and penguins can be found in Antarctica, but also mysterious creatures called plasmosaurs. These are monsters of Antarctica that are globular clots of plasma. According to witnesses, in some places in Antarctica, people behave strangely, go crazy, or die under mysterious circumstances. It's assumed that plasmosaurs are to blame. The first contact with them took place in 1959 when one of the members of an expedition was killed while approaching such plasmoids. The other members of the expedition began shouting at the ball, causing it to explode and disappear. However, a couple of days later, 3 such plasmosaurs reappeared. In the end, only one man survived the entire expedition, but he went mad. According to medical experts, the cause of death of the expedition members was the strongest electromagnetic discharges. It is still unknown if plasmosaurs are responsible and whether these creatures are real or not. Atlantis. According to one of the most intriguing legends about Antarctica, the mythical Atlantis should be sought precisely at the South Pole, more specifically, beneath the ice of Antarctica. Many theorists have suggested that the mythical island lies just below a multi-kilometer layer of eternal ice. Speculation suggests that the people who once lived in Hawaii and Polynesia migrated to Antarctica, where they settled and named their new land Atlantis. For centuries, these people had been building ships and had mastered the skill long before the Phoenicians. If it weren't for the Ice Age, which began during the period when Atlantis is believed to have existed, the Atlanteans might still inhabit those lands today, and world history might have taken a completely different course. However, as temperatures dropped drastically, the ground was quickly covered with a thick layer of ice, rendering those places unfit for human habitation. Initially, this legend sparked controversy, but today it doesn't seem as far-fetched. Scientists suggest examining ancient world maps carefully. For instance, in the 17th century, the German Jesuit Athanasius Kircher presented a map of Egypt that resembled an image of Antarctica without a layer of ice. This is what Antarctica might have looked like about 12,000 years ago. After conducting several studies, scientists were forced to admit that the island shown on the map of Egypt closely resembles the outlines of Atlantis. That's all, guys. Which Antarctic legend do you believe in the most? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.